Hey everyone, I hope you're taking it easy and your day has been great thus far. For this video we'll be going through a unboxing and review of Thundercracker. And this version of Thundercracker as part of this little G1 retro line with the colours inspired from Transformers the movie. And this particular figure, well, this iteration of the figure came out this year being 2023. Although this is definitely just a redeco and minor retool of the original G1 Thundercracker from sometime in the 80s. Now it's been a while since I've done a YouTube video, at least at the point of this recording, due to a bit of a hiatus that I have previously explained in a community post. So feel free to track that down if you want to know why there's been a bit of a minor stop on content. Anyway, hiatus hopefully over and getting back into the swing of things. So, front of the box for Thundercracker in both his robot mode and his alt mode in his very typical blue color scheme. Definitely very, very animation accurate. Especially for the movie, but it is unfortunate that the figure will not have that level of accuracy, but that's okay. But that is still very, very cool. Top of the box, so we just have a few steps of transformation for Thundercracker. Now, Thundercracker is still pretty much just a recolor of Starscream, so I'll try not to spend too much time on Thundercracker because, with the exception of the colors, everything's pretty much the same. Back of the box, just another shot of Thundercracker in both his robot mode and his alt mode, at least for the figure. It is a shame his cluster bombs will not look like that, but we'll manage. And then at the very bottom of the back of the box we do have the tech specs. Okay, box done. Time to crack open, not exactly a planned pun, the box, get Thundercracker out. He will be starting in his alt mode, and then we'll just take it from there. And with everything now out of the packaging, manual, Thundercracker pretty much decked out in his alt mode, and the other accessories that will pretty much be relevant to his robot mode, such as his hands, his null rays, and a miniature version of Megatron. So put those away for the time being. We'll come back to them. We'll come back to you as well, Thundercracker. Manual. Won't spend too much time on this because it's pretty much the same Starscream. Just going through the steps on how to reattach everything for the alt mode, and then how to start the transformation process. It is very simple and basic. And just pretty much putting the wings and everything together. And how to accessorize Thundercracker. So pretty much very straightforward. You don't actually need to take everything off. Some things can actually stay on, but it's totally up to you. So that was the manual. Thundercracker. So obviously from a alt mode perspective, you're definitely just going to happily chill there on the table in terms of what you look like. So Thundercracker from the top, from the bottom, side, front, bit of an angle, the other side angle, the other side in general, and then the back. From an articulation perspective, there isn't too much in the alt mode, so the cockpit hatch will open and close. The wings do rotate there, but it's not so much articulation for the alt mode, more just general artifact of transformation, etc, etc. We do also have these little wheels here when he is in his alt mode that will happily roll back and forth, which is very cool. In terms of colours, I would actually say that is a very, very nice blue for Thundercracker. Now, because I never owned Thundercracker back in the G1 days, I cannot comment on how much more accurate this blue is compared to his original release, but I feel that blue is definitely much more nicer and more aligned to the Generation 1 movie. I can also confirm that some of these things here, the detailing on the wings, the Decepticon logo, etc., they are pre-printed on. They're actually not stickers like they were back in the good old days. And as I mentioned during the early part of the video, these cluster bombs have a very elongated section here. And as I mentioned in the Starscream video, which by the way I will have a card to, I suspect it's to minimize the choking hazard to small children, because that is a very lengthy tail end. Okay, so that's pretty much Thundercracker in his alt mode. I will do the transformation to his robot mode, have a quick look at that, and just pose some very quick final thoughts, which I'm probably going to start condensing down because I think there's just a single statement that will pretty much just blanket cover a lot of these G1 retro figures. So, time to transform him and take it from there. Okay, and with Thundercracker now in his robot mode, so before we get too carried away, just do the quick standing test, to which he is definitely going to pass. Not a problem at all. Okay, so Thundercracker from the front, Thundercracker from the side, from the back, the other side, and a quick close-up of his painted head and his torso. So now that he's in his robot mode, we do get exposed to a bit more color now, outside of his traditional blue. So we do have his main body area in this very light grey, as well as some of the painted parts of it here on the top of his feet. His hands are actually in a nicer darker grey, and he does have some black sections throughout as well. But definitely overall, from a distance, he is looking very much like a Thundercracker. Now I have equipped him with Megatron in his, well, equivalent of his alt mode, which is very cool that we get. Of course, by the time you complete the first 3 Seekers, you will have 3 versions of this Megatron, which is a tad bit of an overkill, but that's okay. Having a shockwave wouldn't have been a bad thing. Although I don't know what the 3rd Seeker would have had. Maybe nothing. Who knows? The joys of repaints. Thundercracker will not have a lot of articulation. And the main articulation that he does have is pretty much in the arm. Now surprisingly, the arm does have a decent degree of motion, which is good, but it is still nowhere near to the degree of articulation that we would see in a Transformer figure that would be released circa 2023. So, what is it? I don't know, I think it was like maybe a 30 to 40 year gap. Things have obviously changed a lot. Now, in terms of gimmicks, I didn't do it in the robot, not the robot mode, the vehicle mode. But these are both missile firing launchers. I will try and demonstrate one without doing too much damage, hopefully. So what type of damage do I do? Just completely rip off his side wing. I will just have my hand here just so that the missile doesn't go too far. So, something I do miss about the G1 figures. Yes. If I just press the trigger here. There you go. Working missile launcher. Unlike the one that I tried with Hound. So, there you go. It's very cool that these ones actually do work a bit more properly. Although I still feel that some of these have been oversized. other than the articulation with his arms, that's about all you'll pretty much get with his robot mode, which I will mention in a very quick moment. But overall, his robot mode, for what it is, definitely isn't too bad. I mean, presentation-wise, because I did obviously grow up when these figures were the mainstay, yes, this is good. It does look very nice. Now, Thundercracker. What are my general thoughts? I'm just going to basically just use pretty much the same sentence for the remaining of these G1 Retro unboxings, because it does explain both the good and the bad. Thundercracker, like Starscream, and like Hot Rod and Hound, they're a vintage retro figurine from basically 40 decades ago. No, 4 decades, sorry. 40 years is 4 decades. Things have changed a lot. The playability of this figure in the current age would not stand with anyone. And that's fine. So, from a playability perspective, compared to now, you can't really fault it because, as I said, it's from a figure from 40 years ago. Things have changed. So that pretty much covers all, what would be considered the not so great elements of the figure. The simplicity, the lack of playability, the very minimal articulation, etc., etc. But in saying that, because it's vintage and it's retro, for those who were around during G1 figures being the main thing, will appreciate the vintage, the nostalgia value behind it, especially now that it's been given a recolor into more animation style colors. I think visually Thundercracker's looking really, really good. I'm also really glad that I don't need to put on stickers. So that vintage status is both its blessing and its curse. But I appreciate for anyone who basically grew up with the figures from Beast Wars and above, vintage to you is basically Beast Wars. So I guess mileage will vary in that regard. So that's pretty much my general blanketing of the pros and cons of Thundercracker. He's a vintage figure. You get what you get. Would I recommend this figure to anyone? Well, for those who never owned Thundercracker back in the day, such as myself, this is definitely a good opportunity to pick one up. To my comment about if you grew up in the age of the Beast Wars figures and past that, it'll really depend if you ended up retrospectively enjoying G1 Transformers and the movie. If you did, I think you can also appreciate some of the retro style of the figure. And I guess the other thing would be if you were a fan of either the Seekers, Thundercracker as a character, you may actually appreciate having him in your collection. So with that being said, for me, I actually feel a few of those. So I never had Thundercracker back in the day, and this will be my second of 3 having an actual Seeker collection of the G1 side of things. So I've got Starscream, I've got Thundercracker, Skywarp is coming out very, very soon. Remains to be seen if we get the 3 cone heads of Thrust, Ramjet, and Dirge. Hopefully we do, but as I said, time will tell. So that's pretty much my general stance of I would recommend it if you can appreciate the nostalgic value, or you are a fan of the character, or want a Seekers collection. If none of those things float your boat, then potentially you will probably be a case of he looks nice, but I'll skip in lieu of probably a more modernized version of Thundercracker that will tick a lot more boxes for playability, articulation, gimmicks and things like that. So I can definitely appreciate why people would go that way as well. But for me, this is definitely well and truly holding nostalgia in both my hands. With that being all said and done, I will probably leave the unboxing and review for Thundercracker there. It's been a fun little bundle of joy to go through, and this video should definitely be shorter than Starscream. Now, as I mentioned before, I will have a link back to the unboxing and review video for Starscream as well, because that'll probably be a little bit longer and probably go through a few more things that I basically glossed over here. But yeah, it's all good. I'll probably do the same thing with Skywarp when he gets released and is available. Thank you very much for watching this unboxing and review of this interesting G1 retro style of Thundercracker. Feel free to leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel, and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found on my Instagram account, link in the description below. It's also the same handle as this channel, and like I do with most of my figures, there will be a complimentary short of Thundercracker to go with this video as well. Just a few different angles and things like that that I haven't necessarily covered here. Once I have Skywarp, I'll do a combined video of the three Seekers together. I think that will look very, very nice. With that being said, stay safe, take care, and I will catch you all in the next video, which hopefully should start to go back on a nice day-to-day release schedule. Until the next time, see ya.